Alright, welcome back and let's keep the momentum going. So for today's video, the problem statement is dynamic IDs, unpredictable names and deeply nested elements. These are an absolute nightmares if you have scripted around these particular elements. And the solution to it is dynamic XPath. It's the ultimate hack for handling such scenarios in Selenium. And if we talk about dynamic XPath, it's not something fancy concept. It simply means writing XPath in a way that handles changing attributes, text variation, and deep hierarchies. Okay. So static locators might look like an input tag with an ID and its value. Now, what happens if the ID changes or refreshes every time you load the page? So we have talked about this earlier. The solution to it is using a concept called contains. So it's a method and we are going to take an example on contains, right? So for today's, I have listed down most of the examples that I'll be discussing. If you go to the comment section, it says what is the concept we are discussing, what is the usage of it, the syntax of it, and what you should be careful about when you are using those particular examples or those particular keywords, right? So first thing is using contains. So these attributes partially match the particular text and it's dynamic in nature. Okay. So select the elements whose attribute contains a specific substring. If we talk about the syntax of it, so it's pretty straightforward. So you just have to use contains inside the square bracket, and you have to specify what attribute you are targeting and what is the value of that attribute. So attribute may be an ID and whatever you are targeting, the value of ID. Okay. What we are targeting here in this example is we are using XPath which contains the value of email. Now in this example, what's happening is I have two particular fields which has the value of email in my application. So what the find element will do is it will only select the first matching element. So let me write it here. Selects only the first matching element. All right. So what I'm trying to do here is I am trying to run this particular line of code. I'm trying to enter something in the text box, and then I'm trying to blink the particular text box. Let's run this. All right. So it highlighted this particular text box. Now, if I have to inspect this, what is the name here? The name says email underscore field. And what have we inputted from here? It says, oh, sorry, the ID should be email. What is the actual value is input underscore email underscore 456. Even though this particular email matches the particular ID value, right? So this condition matches the ID values in my application. So it's able to recognize it. But even though if you try to search here, Control F, and if you paste this, it says one of three element found. So the first one here is again a text box here. The second one that we see here is a field. So it has an ID input underscore email 456. It's the same field that we just entered. And the third one that we see here is again a text field, and it's an email with ID email from label. All right. Things to note from here is if at all there are multiple elements returned to find element, it would perform its action only on the first element that is encountered in the page. Okay. And it starts with the hierarchy. So it would start searching from the top of the page. It would start coming down wherever it finds the first element, matching the particular input keywords or the locators that you are passing from here. It would use that particular element and perform the actions on it. Clear? Now on the similar concepts, we have starts with. So starts with is nothing different. It is again a keyword, starts with, and this would find the attribute starting with certain text. It is ideal for those scenario where you have your IDs or name which have a prefixed text that doesn't changes. So you can use starts with and give that particular prefix text, and every time your script should run fine. If you again go and search this particular XPath on my page, it would again return multiple values from the page. Okay, so again it says the first one is input. This is again a text. The name here is username, but I have just passed at starts with user, so it has highlighted this. Now the next one that is it has selected is again user underscore id underscore 123, so which is also a part of my this particular condition that I'm specifying. So I'm not going to run this because these are just small examples. So I'm just going to run you through all of these examples and then we'll do a run towards the end. Now the next one that we are trying to see here is ends with, but ends with was not supported using XPath 0.1. So I have modified my example using a substring concept. Okay, I'll also change this to ends with, but what happens here, let's talk about it. Right, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to search for a substring that ends with underscore address. So how is this condition working is, let's take an example. Say I have something called as user address. Okay, say I have user underscore a address. Okay, so this is the substring. So my name would be written here, and how much characters do I want? So I want a substring of this particular user address. So this is my user address written here, and it starts from what position? It starts from the length of this particular string. So length is what? 12 minus 7 characters. Okay, so 12 minus 7 is 5 here. Now in my user address, I am trying to put in, I want a substring which starts from my 5th index, and I am not specifying any ending index. Okay, so what I'm giving here is I'm just giving the starting index as 5. So for start with 5th index, so start with 5th index here and go until the end, right? So what it will give, it will not use user, instead it will pick up underscore and address. So when I say minus 7 here, the ideal representation of this is minus 7 plus 1. So always remember, once you are giving your starting index or once you are subtracting this, it would always be plus 1. So it starts with ideal substring starts with @name and then your starting index, then it would be your ending index, right? But here what I'm trying to do here is I'm just giving the name or the text value here. Let me clear this. Okay, so I'm just giving the name, the text or and the length value of it, the starting value of it. So this is my starting value, which will be something like 12 15 minus 7. So I just want to extract the last 7 characters of it. Okay, and then I would use this particular comparison string. So if it is underscore address, then it matches this. It seems too complicated, right? So let me try to simplify this. Let's see if this is able to figure out an element in my page. Okay, I'm going to my page here, paste. So the first one is again a label. Now if you see, it picks up this particular. Another way of simplifying this is just use an ends with. Okay, now if I am going to take the same XPath or same XPath and change this to ends with, so I'll write element blah 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 input. From here I'll say import, instead of substring I am just going to write input ends with, and I'll open a bracket. What property I want to search? I'll say search for name. What value do you want to search? It should be single quotes underscore address, right? And then what I want to do is I want to blink it. These two are the same. This is using the substring, this is using ends with. Okay, example, this is good to know. This might come up in your interview as well. Say the interviewer wants you to search for a particular element which ends with certain text, but he doesn't want you to use the ends with function. right? So how are you going to achieve it? So the answer would be using a substring. All right. Now the next one that we are going to see is using the visible text in my application. Now what I'm trying to do here is, again, I'm finding an XPath. If you see here, it is what type of XPath? It's a relative XPath because it starts with double slash. So anywhere in my application, you search for a button which has a text of login. It's pretty straightforward. We had seen these examples earlier as well. So if I have to search this, I'll just paste it and it highlights. The first one is again a label. Now the second one, it highlights this particular text box. If you see this is my text box, right? So I am just using the login text which is written here, right? Or which is visible to the user. So using the visible text also, you can identify elements. So what I have done here is I am searching for a button which has a visible text of login. Now moving to the second example, what I'm trying to do here is I have used, on the similar grounds, I have used search for any web elements. Okay. And what value I have given here is it should contain the text welcome. So it can be a label, it can be a button, it can be a text box, it can be a text area, anything. Let's see how many I'm able to figure out. So using this particular XPath, it would highlight both of it, right? So this is again a text match that it has done. Now the first match is this particular welcome. Now the second match should be this particular XPath. Now this is not a text match. This is again a match that it has found a text which has welcome in it. Pretty straightforward. These would be useful. These are more like syntax. So I'm not practicing this with you because I'm going to use this while I demonstrate the other examples, right? So I'm just trying to give you the syntax. So make sure you note it down or make sure you have this by hearted. You have to remember that what is the keyword that I have to use so that my work becomes easier here. So we are moving on to the wildcard and combining multiple attributes. Let's see how we are going to match one element or all element inside a particular page or inside particular division tag. All right. So if you see my first example, so this double slash star will target everything or all the web elements inside my page. So if I go here and I do that, it will return me all the web elements. It says 206 found. Now the second one is anything inside a division tag. So it's going to match all the division tags and it's going to return me all the children's of the division tag. Here, this is the division tag. Inside this is my tag, right? So the next one, if I go, now this is the second child of this particular division tag, right? If I go again, this is again the third child. So anything that is inside a division tag will be listed using this particular XPath that I just wrote. Now the third one that we are doing here is I'm trying to search for an input which is of type text and the placeholder value is username. So we had seen these earlier as well. So if you just do a search on my page, it's going to highlight a particular text box using these two particular properties. So the placeholder value is username and the type is text. This one is pretty straightforward and we had practiced these example earlier as well. Now the next one that we are going to see is quite unique and this is actually useful when you are targeting bullets in your HTML page. If you are trying to navigate through lot of say bullet items and you want to highlight parent or child or grandchild of it, so you can use the XPath Axes there, right? So these are more like positional and relational navigation. Okay, so you are going to position one of your element and then you are going to navigate back and through from that particular uh, XPath. Now to target this is also very straightforward. You are going to specify a particular tag that you are aware of. Say in a page you are aware that my username is going to sit here and the next thing that I want to target is say a label after my username, okay, or say a label, uh, a certain label says it's a password and you say the text of that label is password, and I want to see the following inputs of it. Okay. What in general happens is you will see password written here and then a corresponding field for password. Okay. So on a similar ground, I have written this XPath also, saying you have a particular label that you just checked and you want to see a particular input box next to it. So there are 4 things that we are going to see here. One is following, which will check for the next element after the target element. So this is my target element and this is the following input 1, which is going to be selected. Now the second example is preceding, and what it does is, from this particular input box, if there is any preceding label, so it's going to target that particular label or return me that label, right? Now similarly, if I see here, I have used a keyword called ancestor. This is nothing but if a particular input box is present in a page and that particular input box will be inside a division tag. Now what it does is, it doesn't have to be your first level of division tag. Where is my password? Let's see. Where is my password first? So my password is right here. Okay. But where is yeah. So it's here. So there is a division class called field here as well. But I'm not going to target this one. What I'm trying to target is, I'm trying to target the ancestor of it. Right. So if I give this particular thing as the parent of particular password, what happens? So what happens is, here I had the input of password and the parent is the immediate division tag, whereas the ancestor is the last division tag that you are going to see here. Okay. So say there was 1 division, 2 division, 3 division, 4 division, and then you had input. So ancestor would pick the first division tag. You had 1 division tag, second division tag, third division tag, fourth division tag, then you had input, right? So this is your parent and this is your ancestor. So that's pretty much the difference between using ancestor and parent. Now moving on to the next one, where you have, one second, let me comment these and then I'll rerun this towards the end. Okay. So the next one that we are going to see is using chained XPath. Okay. So what this chained XPath means is, say I have a page where I have multiple types of form. If you are a student, you have to fill this form. If you are a teacher, you have to fill this form. So there are multiple types of form that are displayed and you have to scroll through those particular forms and reach to your exact form that you want. So each form will have its own ID. So you have form 1, you have form 2, you have form 3, you have form 4, and these are also my IDs. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is, using the chained XPath method, I am trying to move to a particular ID. I would command Selenium to first hit the parent tag. So my parent tag would be a form which has ID of 3. Okay, because I want to fill something inside this particular form. So instead of running through all of these forms, just target the ID of a particular form which has ID as 3. So this is my ID. So ID of 3 should be targeted. Now inside this, you have to go and open the form. Okay. And in this form, you have to go and search for a field with certain input. Clear? So that's the concept of chaining your XPath. What it means is, you are going to hit with a parent tag, and inside that parent tag, you'll have your child tag and you are going to refer to that particular child tag. The advantage of doing this is, in our previous example, like we saw, so if you have 10 forms and 10 forms have the same ID as name, and you are just passing a child tag where your name, you have set it as email. Say email is the example that we have used here. So if you have email in all of the fields, all of the forms, and if you just give this particular input, it's just going to enter the first one. Or you have to use a different approach. You have to find all the elements and then select the whichever element you want to enter, right? So to overcome that, or there is to work around in those scenarios, you have to first target a certain parent tag, and inside that parent tag you have to search for the child tag. All right, so it's like you are limiting the scope for Selenium. You are telling Selenium not to search everything, but you are limiting the scope, that you have to hit this particular tag, and inside this tag only you have to find this particular element. You don't have to search the entire page, right? So likewise, what we have done here is we have done like a division which has class container, and inside this division only you have to search for an input with the name email. Search this in the page. What happens is it would only list you the email which is inside this particular XPath. You remember I have two email fields here, right? So this is one email and there is one more email. So this is also an email field. But since I have given the container tag here, so it's only going to search for this particular email address. If you see, there are two of two, but the first one is label, right? The first one is label, the second one is email. So that's how you are going to search within just a limited scope rather than the entire page at once. Moving on to the next one. So how are you going to search in a table? So we know an ideal table is composed of tr and td. A table is composed of table tag. Inside this table tag, you have table header, you have table body, and then you have table row and table data. So tr, td, right? We have table, table body, and we have the reference of the table row and table data that we are going to use. If you see here, this particular thing is a table. If I have to check Alice here, we right click inspect and again right click copy, and you are going to say copy XPath. And if you paste it here, this should highlight Alice. To make it easy, you can just copy this and then you can play around with the indexes here. So table row 1 means the first row. If I just change it to 3, it is going to highlight Charlie. If I change this to 4, it shouldn't highlight anything because 4 is not found. So if you see here, it says 0 of 0, right? So if I do 1 here, so it's pointing to the first row now. And inside this first row, my TD1 is Alice, right? And TD2 is the age column. So using this TD, TR and TD, you are going to navigate through your entire table. You can also use a loop and supply a value here and then navigate. I'm not going into details of how you are going to navigate. So this particular example or whatever we had seen today is basically to get you comfortable with whatever possible combinations of XPath you can see. These things will be useful when you are scripting. At least be aware of the syntaxes or the use cases of individual keywords that we had seen today, right? So that's all I had in this video. I'll see you in the next one where we are going to discuss the new elements or the new methods that has been introduced in the latest Selenium. And I hope this was helpful to you in learning and mastering your Selenium. Okay. All right. So I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye bye.